The chair the laundry sits on, examining the texture of mine, and a 10-minute guided meditation. You know that chair the laundry sits on? Let's not pretend you don't know what I mean. That chair, you know what chair I'm referring to. Okay. If you don't have the chair, you know someone that does. It's the chair that never really holds a person. It is where you dump clothes and things you plan to deal with later. Clothes you wore once, clothes you might wear again, clothes you tested out but were too tight or didn't match, but you were in a hurry, so you just dumped them on the chair. Clothes you regret wearing, or clothes that came out of the dryer but you have no strength to fold, so they now permanently sit there. The chair of intention and postponement, the monument to the feeling of not quite being caught up. You know what I mean? I have one of those chairs. I also carry a version of that chair inside me, carved and framed as my mind. We will use this chair as our guiding metaphor today. You see, 2 weeks ago, I had a very important interview that I had been anticipating for an entire month. During that waiting period, my literal hold everything chair carried the weight of my domestic messiness. I postponed folding, sorting, and tending to small chores because my attention was quietly occupied elsewhere. After the interview, I came home and lay down to rest. What followed was the deepest nap I've had in years. When I woke, still enjoying the residue of that rest, something became clear. There had been a powerful buildup of anticipation surrounding the interview that I had not consciously noticed. Once it was over, the release of that tension showed itself in the quality of my sleep. That moment brought the chair metaphor into sharp focus. Without effort, I'd emptied the content of my inner chair. We sometimes call this chair and its content our personality, our history, our truth, yet it is only laundry, a collection of moments waiting to be washed in attention and folded into clarity. Nothing more. The mind builds the chair. Our thoughts gather the old stories, future plans, opinions we have not tested, fears we've not rehearsed, and then it settles them on that chair of mind only because there's space for them to sit. And then the pile grows. Little by little, the pile grows. Soon it feels like a burden. Soon the weight feels like identity. Sometimes we look at the heap and say, this is who I am. We forget the heap is made of moments that arrived, stayed too long, and never asked to define us. When we take time to examine this inner chair, the whole structure begins to soften. The stories show their seams, the fears show their age, the opinions show how provisional they are, and what once felt like a solid self becoming the loose fabric of impressions. The act of actually seeing is what creates space. Within the space, it becomes easier to notice what is true and what is habitual. It becomes easier to sense the difference between lived presence and accumulated clothing. The more we look, the tighter the chair becomes, or rather, the lighter the chair becomes. The more we question, we see that the less we feel owned by the pile, and the chair itself transformed, and so even the metaphor itself. In the wake of my past crucial interview and the use of metaphor as a tool for practicing this inner knowing, I see how examining our metaphoric pile, not from analysis, but from the curiosity of how it sits on our inner chair, it takes us into a different expression of experience. I'll explain further through an exercise that helps to examine the texture of our botherness or our botherance, the clothes on the chair. We can do this exercise as a way to also sharpen perception, the seat of the right brain's hemisphere. You see, most of us lead with a strong left brain orientation, which leads to our thought processes being more linear and analytical. To such minds, this exercise may feel strange or pointless at first. And that is useful because, paradoxically, the stranger it feels, the more it loosens the grip of habitual analysis. The right brain works through imaginary or imagery rather, sensations, intuition, and spacious awareness. When you explore the qualities of your inner state, you bridge both sides. You train the mind to perceive in more than one direction. You teach yourself to feel rather than explain. You give the chair a chance to be seen with fresh eyes. And once the chair is seen clearly, the weight of the pile begins to fall apart on its own. So before we go into the guided meditation, which is included at the end of this recording or this short, brief recording, I'd say for you to take a few seconds to get quieter, to notice what's happening in your inner space. Notice there's movement of thoughts, activity, pulsations, experience within and inside of you. Now ask these crazy questions. If the movement of thoughts, activity, or pulsations, if they had speed, how fast do they move? Perhaps there are slow vibrations, slow movements of maybe fast ruminations. Perhaps there is a sense of confusion about what I'm even asking. But notice how fast or slow this sense of confusion itself appears to be. If your inner state had a texture, what texture would it be? Rough, smooth, coarse, sharp, dense, loose? If all went well with this exploration, these are the textures of clothing on this metaphoric chair of the localized mind. And, you're not judging anything, but instead naming the quality of the moment. You have mapped the surface of your inner pile. So we'll use this exploration in the guided meditation. You're practically exercising the right hemisphere and cutting out the habitual thinking process so that you can experience something that's different than the linear thinking system. But before we go, I like to offer up a treasure to hold on to for contemplation. The treasure is a reframing of the chair metaphor. What if the chair becomes the universe, the ground of all things? What if we are the ones who can sit there? What if we can let our lives rest on something far more stable than our thoughts? What if I can allow myself to remember this last statement? And that's the statement of what if we can allow our lives to rest on something far more stable than our thoughts? So the chair becomes a presence that holds all experience without strain. And so we rest as the one who's held. We melt into the chair, becoming one with the chair. What can be wrong with anything? Settle with me into your seat. Or if you're doing something passive, then just be with your own experience. Let your body feel supported. Let your breath arrive as it is. Nothing to change, nothing to manage. If your eyes aren't already closed, allow them to soften or to close. Bringing your attention again to your breathing. Let it fall out. Once again, give yourself permission to arrive in this moment. Now bring your mind to the image of the chair from this essay. The chair that holds the laundry. The chair of postponement. The chair that collects the things that we said we would get to. Now, if you can visualize this or create an image in your mind to this inner chair, the place where thoughts gather. Notice what's on that chair, what's on your mind. The old stories, your plans, your worries, your background tension. Anything at all. For this meditation, you're not trying to remove anything. You're just here to see them. So now we'll turn to the exercise we explored earlier. Sense the movement within once again. Your thoughts may be drifting. Perhaps you're noticing the pulsations within your body. You may be noticing energies shifting from your chest or your stomach. Ask yourself softly, if these movements had speed, how slow or fast are they moving? Are they slow ripples or are they steady vibrations? Are they quick bursts of thinking? Just allow the answers to appear on their own. Just notice the pace. That pace is telling you something about the pile on the chair. And if we could correlate those, the speed or the intensity or the ease of your inner experience of pulsations of thoughts, if they had a texture, would you say they're rough, smooth, sharp, loose, tense, coarse? Oh, just allow your beautiful mind to name the texture without going back and forth. Oh, at this point, you can let go of even this examining of textures. Now bring your attention to the chair itself, not the pile, the chair itself, the locus of rumination, the locus of thinking, of thoughts, from where do you experience the weight of these piles? Sense that chair now. Now let's do a gentle exercise here. We're going to use your mind for this one. So I want you to imagine your whole life resting on that support, on that chair. All of you resting on a presence that holds everything without strain. Now imagine that chair widening and carrying all things without resistance. Imagine that chair being so powerful, so wide and high that it does not tire. Feel yourself resting there. Feel yourself merging with that support. The boundaries between you and the chair gently getting lighter, fainter and fainter. And in that space, notice that nothing is out of place. Nothing is against you. Nothing needs fixing in this moment. So rest a little longer. And when you're ready, take a gentle breath. Feel your body again. Feel the literal seat beneath you, and feel the room around you. And carry the sense of the chair with you. The chair that holds everything. The chair that you merge with. The chair that reminds you that nothing is wrong. And open your eyes when you're ready.